Okay, gender, or the term gender, is often not given any consideration at all as it relates to trade. The term trade appeared to be a masculine word. Hence, when one hears about trade, it must be related to affairs, actions, or activities specific to men. It is not looked at, as we say in the gendered language, through the gendered lens. It is sort of one-sided. But if we are to look at the whole concept of trade, looking at the chain, we will realize that trade does not begin at the borders or with the ministries and the officials. There must be something before we get to that stage. That item which is being traded, how did it come about? How did we get to that stage? And although there are different activities, different items being traded, if we are to look at commodities, let's take agriculture for instance, and look at our own situation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Who are the majority of the people in the fields, preparing the fields, the plowing, the planting, the sowing? If we are to take a look, and the research has shown that approximately 54% of those persons are female. So in the sense of trade, it would seem, and agriculture, as the women are just hired hands, because they would produce the crop. But when it comes to matters of policy in relation to the conditions under which the women work in the fields, we do not hear much about those. When we consider conditions of remuneration, we do not hear much about those. Anything relating to policies, we very seldom hear the voices of women being articulated as to how it should be. Hence, one of the reasons why I am saying that trade is a masculine word, or carries a masculine connotation. I think it's a misconception that women are not interested in trade at the policy making level. I think that sometimes the women actually do not know the different avenues, and sometimes they do not take advantage, for different reasons, of opportunities to get to that level. But I do not believe that women do not. If you are to have a town hall meeting to discuss matters of trade, women, agriculture, the whole concept of trade, the women will express themselves. The women will express themselves, and they will tell you how they want things to be done. The problem sometimes is the views of the women are not reflected around the policy making table, or not sufficiently reflected around the policy making table. It is not that the women have no interest at that level. And those women who are fortunate to be in those positions, I think that sometimes they do make an effort, but there's room for improvement.
What are some of the...
I think one of the challenge that women encounter is that there may be provisions made, or sometimes provisions are made, as you may mention, in the EPA, and although it doesn't speak to gender, but the persons who actually implement the policies, I think there is where the challenge lies. There is not that ready acceptance of women, because if women are at that level, or encouraged to be at that level, then of course I am sure that we will see that gendered perspective even in relation to the EPA, because though we have to agree that there must be broad policies that cover, encompass everything and everyone, but the problem is around that table when it comes to implementation, or to make those policies specific, country specific. Who sits around the table? The people with influence around the table often are not women. How do women get around the table? I guess that is one of the reasons why we are having this discussion today. The CSMA affects, I believe, men and women equally. Take into consideration the peculiarities of women and the peculiarities of men. The CSMA, as it relates to the free movement of people, caters to university graduates, and they have male and female, or men and women, men and women who move, domestics, artisans, etc. It does not, up to this point, and I know that discussions are ongoing, take into consideration those persons who are outside of that group, the unskilled person who move and who is being disadvantaged. That person is moving within the space, within the CSMA space, but that person does not fall in the category of persons to move freely. And persons like those, men and women, are often disadvantaged because they do not fall in that category. For persons who do fall in that category, the husband maybe, but the wife and the rest of the family, up to this point, cannot move freely. When they move, and the wife is the unskilled person, but she moved with her husband, she has to reorient the entire family, and it's a challenge. It's sometimes a totally new culture, new way of life, and it has been reported that we have family separation, children encounters difficulties settling in, and most of the times it falls on the female, the mother, the wife, the partner, the female partner, to pull the pieces together. So the disruption in movement, even within CSME, I think that there should be a period of preparation. You know, when people are getting ready to retire, sometimes there are programs preparing you to retire. I think there should be a program get specifically towards preparing families who will be taking advantage of this free movement across the region. I do not think any consideration at all is given to the disruption that is caused. Education is power. You do not have to be a university graduate. You do not have to be a college graduate or even attended school at all. You just have to be aware of what is happening around you. As women, we must know, we must be in the know. So we listen to the news, we look at our own circumstances and the things that are affecting us, and consider what we can do to make ourselves better off. And we approach the people who seem to be getting it right, other women who seem to be getting it right, and ask for assistance. Ask, what can I do to get to where I want to go? You listen to what is happening regionally and ask questions. It is always wise to ask questions of the persons with the answers. Do not just say, I hear this and I hear that. It will not work. You will remain in ignorance. Seek advice from the people who can give it to you, and that is not difficult. They can contact you. There are a number of persons, and as you look around, you can see women who seem to be progressive in the country. They didn't get there overnight. They had to overcome their own hurdles. Women must be strong. Women must not be intimidated by whether men or other women, because women can be intimidating to each other sometimes. Do not be intimidated by anyone. You have your goal set and you do what is necessary. Like I say, ask the right questions and be prepared mentally and physically to deal with the challenges. And I say physically, it will be remiss of me if I do not remind all women that it is important to maintain physical and good physical, spiritual and mental health. It helps. So do not or stop continue to say that we are too busy to take 30 minutes walk 4 or 5 times per day. Exercise. Think healthy. Associate yourselves with people who are positive, because one of the worst things that women can do is to surround themselves with negative people, people who will always say it cannot be done, don't bother, they wouldn't bother with you. Surround yourselves with positive people, think positively.